Welcome to our first of the lecture series for the child and adolescent learner. I am Jennifer Seniel, your lecturer for this semester. So our first topic is actually an introduction about the child and adolescent learners. So for this video, at the end of this video, you should be able to define the terms childhood and adolescence. You should be able to identify pertinent provisions on the rights of children and young persons, and you should be able to describe and analyze the present situation of Filipino children and adolescents. Okay, now let's start. What is childhood? Okay, so childhood actually refers to the time or state of being a child, and it is also the early stage of existence and development. Okay, so it is also related to a time of innocence, to a time of pure joy and blissfulness. Okay, lahat naman tayo dumaan sa childhood. Tama? Okay, meron ba dito na pinanganak ng teenager or meron ba dito pinanganak ng ganyan na? So, syempre, wala naman, di ba? Lahat tayo dumaan sa childhood. Okay? So, this is the early stage of development. Okay? So, from being a small baby up to a big one. Okay? So, if you have a younger sibling, if you have your babies already, sa mga may children na, nakita nyo naman yung progress. Okay? So, for example, from ilang centimeters lang, no? Tapos ngayon, ano na yung height? Mas malaki pa sa atin yung mga kapatid natin, o kaya mas malaki pa yung mga anak nyo dun sa iba yung mga anak. Or, kasi ganyan, okay? So, alam naman siguro nating lahat kung ano talaga ang childhood. Okay? Now, what is adolescence? So, adolescence is actually a period of psychological and social transition between childhood and adulthood. Okay? So it is a transitional stage of human development in which a juvenile matures into an adult. Okay? So in transition would include biological changes. So for the boys, ano yung mga obvious na biological change? 'Di ba yung dati maliit lang na small height, biglang tangkad. Okay? Or for facial hair, kita nyo kagad, di ba? Yung mga bata, yung mga kids, wala pa silang mga mustache. Wala naman silang mga bigote. Pero ngayon, or once you enter adolescence, you would now start to have your mustache. Okay, so nagkakaroon ng bigote, facial hair for the girls. Okay, so biological change, pinaka-obvious, is yung development of the breasts. Okay? Minsan nagkaka-shape din, nagka-curve na ang bodies. Okay? Social changes. So, dati, sobrang active, sobrang playful with all kids. Pero now, namimili na tayo ng friends natin. Okay? Yung circle of friends natin, mas kinikilatis natin. And also, psychological changes. Okay? So, yung thinking natin when we were younger is different now that we are teenagers. Okay, meron pa ba akong teenager na students ngayon? Let's see. According to World Health Organization, adolescence is a period between 10 and 19 years of age. Okay, pasok pa ba sa adolescence? Hindi pa ba kayo mga adult? So, ako ay graduate na dyan. Pero sometimes, I feel like I'm a teenager. Okay? So, age is just a matter of number. Hashtag feeling young si ma'am, okay? So, what are the differences of a child and an adolescent? Okay, maraming differences. Later on, as we go along our discussions, we would be discussing the milestones achieved by a child and an adolescent. Okay, since lahat kayo ay dumaan na sa pagiging teenager, alam nyo na yan. Okay? In some countries, an adolescent and a teenager is the same. Okay? How do we classify pala an adolescent? So, it varies. Kaya balikan lang natin. So, sa Philippines, sa atin, kapag elementary ka, you're still a child. But once you're in high school, considered a teenager already. Okay? Sa US, adolescent stage ay nag-start ng 12 or 13 and nag-end to 18 and 19. Okay? So, nag-vary. Sa ibang country siguro iba din ang ang age for adolescence. Okay? Now, let's go to the rights of children and young persons. Okay? Sa local setting, meron tayong, yan, pinakakilala is the Presidential Decree number 603, which was highlighted, or which was actually enacted in 1974. Okay? So let's just discuss some of the provisions of this decree. Okay? So according to this decree, all children shall be entitled to the rights herein set forth without distinction as to legitimacy or illegitimacy, sex, social status, religion, political antecedents, and other factors. So walang discrimination. Lahat ng Pilipinong bata kasama dito sa ano na to, sa law na ito. Okay? So, first provision, every child is endowed with the dignity and worth of a human being from the moment of conception, as generally accepted in medical parlance, and has therefore the right to be born well. Okay? So, against tayo dun sa abortion. Okay? Just recently, um, I got aware, meron palang adoption groups, adoption, I'm sorry, not adoption. I mean, abortion. Okay? Rampant pala ngayon ang abortion sa Twitter world. Okay? Hindi kasi ako nagka-Twitter. Pero yun nga, meron nagpo-post ng good abortion clinic. Okay? So, as mature individuals, siguro no, remind ko lang din yung mga kabataan, lalo na yung mga in a relationship. Okay? Don't do something that you won't take responsibility for. Okay? So, if you feel the urge to do something, think. Think before you boom. Okay? Isipin niyo muna yung gagawin nyo. Kasi, you would be sacrificing another life in the future. Pag ginawa nyo, pag may nabuo kayo, paninindigan ba? Okay? Mga ladies, ingatan ng mga sarili. And also sa mga guys. Okay? Mamaya, si ate mong girl, gustong gusto. Joke lang, okay? So, ano lang, ganyan na kasi ang kabataan ngayon eh, mga pusok. Okay? But, as you mentioned, kailangan utak mo na. Isipin mabuti. Kasi nga, karapatan. It's a right of every child to be born. And not just to be born, but to be born well. Okay? So, yun. Na-alarm lang ako, nabasa ko kagabi sa Twitter eh. May nag-share lang sa Facebook na meron palang mga nagpapa-abort talaga. 0 to 3 months, niraraspa. Tapos 3 months onwards, ano nga yun? Nakalimutan ko yung term eh. Basta merong iniinom, tapos lahat malalaglag siya. Nakita ko pa yung mga picture ng mga fetus, nakakawa yung mga bata. Okay? So, yun. So, next, every child has the right to a wholesome family life that will provide him with love, care, and understanding, guidance and counseling, and moral and material security. Okay, so the dependent or abandoned child shall be provided with the nearest substitute for a home. Okay, di ba may kanta nga na love will keep us alive? Hindi lang love dapat. Dapat meron din care and understanding. Mahal mo nga, pero di mo naman inaalagaan. Mahal mo nga, pero di mo iniintindi. So, also, there should also be moral and material security. Mahal mo nga, pero di mo naman binibigyan ng damit. Ina-expose mo lang ang kanyang katawan. Kawawa naman ng bata. Okay? Mahal mo nga, pero di mo naman pinapakain. O, so yun siya. Okay? So, isipin nyo na lang. Ito yung rights ng every child. So, kung meron ka ng anak, ito yun. Dapat maging responsible parents tayo. Kung gusto mo nang magkaroon ng anak, you should be aware also of their rights. Okay? Kung mayroon kayong mga younger kids, younger siblings, yan. Okay? Also, kaya ko pala sinishare itong different provisions. Kasi nga, as future teachers, you should know this. Kasi nga, mga kids din yung i-handle nyo in the future. So next, number 3, every child has the right to a well-rounded development of his personality to the end that he may become a happy, useful, and active member of society. So, yun. The gifted child shall also be given opportunity and encouragement to develop his special talent. So, hindi lang yung mga normal kids yung binibigyan ng support, pati din yung gifted child. Okay? Pag sinabi natin gifted child, ito yung may mga different disabilities. Okay? So, the emotionally disturbed or socially maladjusted child shall be treated with sympathy and understanding and shall be entitled to treatment and competent care. So, dinadala natin sila sa mga institutions that could help them develop more. I mean, yung ano nila, social and moral development. Okay? So, saan pwedeng dalhin? Pwedeng dalhin sa mga foster care homes. Pwede rin dalhin sa DSWD for help. Okay? So, next, every child has the right to a balanced diet, adequate clothing, sufficient shelter, proper medical attention, and all the basic physical requirements of a healthy and vigorous life. Okay, yun na yung minention ko kanina. So, number 1 pa lang. So, proper medical attention, i-highlight ko lang din, no? So, kailangan, pag may sakit, wag lang tayong, dependent sa, sa mga traditional medicine. Okay? I respect the traditional medicine. Minsan, I also follow that. Pero, kapag medyo hindi na gumagaling, proper medical attention. Okay? So, next, every child has the right to be brought up in an atmosphere of morality and rectitude for the enrichment and strengthening of his character. Okay? So, dapat tama ang nakikita lagi. Okay? Kung mag-aaway man, for example, meron kang younger younger sibling. Kapag narinig mo nag-aaway na si nanay at tatay, layo kayo. Layo mo yung bata. Kasi, it would, that scene would actually affect his development. Okay? So next, every child has the right to an education commensurate with his abilities and to the development of his skills for the improvement of his capacity for service to himself and to his fellow men. Okay? Pwede mag-homeschool as long as you are aware with the homeschooling process. Okay? Pero kung hindi naman kayang mag-homeschool nowadays, no, so dapat ang mga bata ine-enroll talaga sa school. Okay? Karapatan ng bata na mag-aral. Okay? Libre naman sa, libre sa public schools. Okay? So, yan. Actually, later on, meron tayong another law that would highlight this. So next, every child has the right to full opportunities for safe and wholesome recreation and activities, individual as well as social, for the wholesome use of his leisure hours. Okay, wholesome tayo. Wholesome recreation and activities dapat. Okay? Hindi pwede yung mga censored na activities para sa mga bata. Huwag natin tuturuan ng mga kabataan ng kung ano-ano. Dapat tama lang yung tinuturo natin. Let them experience or let them maximize the youth. Yung period na, innocent. Okay? Next, every child has the right to protection against exploitation, improper influences, hazards, and other conditions or circumstances prejudicial to this physical, mental, emotional, social, and moral development. Okay? Walang exploitation. Okay? Or bawal silang i-expose sa harmful background na nasisira yung nila bodies nila or it would affect their emotional, social, and moral development. Okay? Common exploitation na ginagawa sa mga bata ay yung sa sex exploitation, child pornography. Okay? So, bawal po yun. Okay, so next, every child has the right to live in a community and a society that can offer him an environment free from pernicious influences and conducive to the promotion of his health and the cultivation of his desirable traits and attributes. Okay, so kailangan yung community na kinakalakha ng isang bata ay positive. Okay, kasi nakaka-affect talaga ang environment ng bata sa development niya. Okay? So next, every child has the right to the care, assistance, and protection of the state, particularly when his parents or guardians fail or unable to provide him with his fundamental needs for growth and development and improvement. Okay? So yan. one government agency is the SWD na pwedeng tumulong sa mga parents na hindi na kayang mag-provide for their children. Okay? So next, every child has the right to an efficient and honest government that will deepen his faith in democracy and inspire him with the morality of the constituted authorities both in their public and private lives. Okay? So karapatan ng isang bata na magkaroon ng honest and efficient government. Na-achieve ba yan ng mga bata ngayon? Wala lang, question lang. Okay? So next, every child has the right to grow up as a free individual in an atmosphere of peace, understanding, tolerance, and universal brotherhood, and with the determination to contribute his share in building of a better world. Okay? So dapat hindi kinukulong ang mga bata. Okay lang naman na kinokontrol mo yung galawan niya. I mean, you don't allow a child to go out all the time. Pero dapat na gagawa niya yung mga bagay na dapat ginagawa ng mga bata. You just allow them to play outside. Okay? Dapat din na-experience ang peace. Hindi sila nagiging exposed sa puro away. And yan. Right to grow up as a free individual. Okay? No attachment. So yan. Now for the Constitution, there are some articles that actually promotes or that would highlight the rights of children. So for example, Article 13, Section 11. So health development available to all people at affordable cost, giving special priority to children. If you have a child or if you have your younger siblings, sinulit ko to, okay? So, yung vaccines ng aking little one, inavail ko yung sa government. Inavail ko yung sa center, okay? Practical tayo dapat, okay? So, yun. Meron naman talagang at an affordable cost, okay? So, next, Article 14, Section 2, the section provides for free and compulsory elementary and high school education. Yun nga. So, libre naman mag-aral. Elementary and high school. Next, Article 14, Section 3 provides for the teaching of religion to children in schools. Okay? So long as the parent or guardian of the child has given the consent. And then, Article 15, Section 3 requires the state to defend the right of children to assistance, so including proper care and nutrition, and provides for special protection from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, and other conditions prejudicial to their development. Okay? Now, other relevant legislation, we have the Civil Code, Family Code, Labor Code, Child and Youth Welfare Code. Yun na yung mention nga natin kanina. Then, you have the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, or RA 9262, Child Protection Act, RA 7610, Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act, Magna Carta of Women, and an act on the prohibition of the death penalty. Okay, so brief lang natin sila dadaanan. I believe familiar naman kayo with some of these. Okay, so Civil Code, it is a general law that governs family and property relations in the Philippines. So, syempre, nakapaloob din dyan yung natin, yung karapatan din ng mga children. Kapag, for example, yung division ng property, pag naghiwalay ang parents, ganyan. Okay, so it is enacted in 1950 and remains in force today. So next, you have the Family Code. So it is the basic law covering persons and family relations, governs marriages, legal separations, property relations between spouses and parental authority, among others. Next, you have the Labor Code. Yan. So, hinighlight ko employment of minors. Okay? So, sa Labor Code, it stands as the law governing employment practices and labor relations in the Philippines. Okay? So, yan yung example. So, no child below 15 years of age shall be employed except when he works directly under the sole responsibility of his parents, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Search nyo na lang din. Next, we have the Anti-Violence Against Women and the Children Act of 2004. So, yung violence against women and children, Yan. So, kahit anong kind ng violence, okay? Physical, sexual, psychological harm, or suffering, economic abuse, including threats, yan. Okay? So, lahat yan ay, punishable by law. Okay? So, highlight lang natin yung sa child. Okay? So, yung violence against her child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, kasama yan siya. Okay? So, next is the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act, or Republic Act 7610. Okay? So, it is a policy of the state to provide special protection in all forms of abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, and discrimination. Okay? So, we also have the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. So, ito yung system na to, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare System, is a system dealing with children at risk and children in conflict with the law. Okay? So, controversial to na gustong babaan ng government yung um, age of criminal liability, if I'm not mistaken. So, yan. Agree ba kayo doon or not? So, yun. It's one question. Okay? So, juvenile na yung term na ginamit. Next, you have the Magna Carta of Women. So, it is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women. So, kasama dito yung mga girls. Okay? Usually kasi may discrimination sa mga babae. Kaya meron tayong Magna Carta for Women. Okay? So, international laws naman, we have the Human Convention on the Rights of the Child. Okay? So, yan, dito sa right side yung mga different rights of each children. So, this was actually adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1989. And hanggang ngayon, ginagamit pa rin siya. Ito din yung basis natin for our different laws observed in the country. Okay, now let's go to the situation of Filipino children and young persons. In the module that I have sent you, nandun yung details. So, I'll just give you the summary, or I'll just be presenting some of the graphs related to this. Okay, so social protection. Social protection, kasama dyan ngayon yung pagpo-provide sa family. Okay, so there is actually the significant rate of child poverty. So 31.4% of children are living below the basic needs poverty line nationally. Okay, so dapat hindi ganyan kababa. Dapat yung children, may access sila sa basic needs. Food, water, shelter. Okay? So, child poverty rates vary significantly and are very high in some regions. Example, 63.1% in ARMM. Okay? So, this data was actually 5 years ago pa. So, hindi pa to updated, but I hope medyo bumaba na yung poverty rate. Okay? So, sa health naman, low access to sexual and reproductive health. Okay? This is quite alarming. There is a rising rate of teen fertility. So, there's an increase from 49 to 59.2 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19 years in 2015. Ewan ko lang ngayon dahil na lockdown, mukhang marami na namang lockdown babies. I hope hindi naman masyadong involved ang teens dahil dapat nasa bahay lang ang mga teenagers. Okay? So, there is also contraceptive prevalence at 42.8% among married women aged 15 to 49 years, with only 35.7% using modern methods. Okay? Sa mga may asawa na dito na mga students, I hope you avail the contraceptives na given sa health center for family planning. Okay? Yun. Meron naman sa center kung hindi afford sa mga clinics or hospitals. Okay? Now, there's also a low and declining immunization coverage. So, only 62% childhood immunization coverage. Okay, nagkaroon ng decline. Bakit? Because of the fear of vaccination. Nagkaroon ng issue dati sa Dengvac siya, okay? Natakot dahil doon na natakot na yung mga parents na baka maging negative yung effect sa children nila. Also, meron din kumakalat na mga anti-vaxxers. Sinasabi nila that it could cause autism, it would cause brain damage. Hindi po totoo yun, okay? Kaya tayo may vaccines is to protect ourselves from harmful viruses, okay? Paano ba gumagana ang vaccines? Vaccines are actually, they have copies of the virus, pero hindi yun yung hindi siya yung nakakasakit talaga. So, the virus would be injected to your body. Now, your antibodies, yung mga natin, first line of defense ng katawan natin, it would fight the vaccine, yung kopya ng virus. Okay? So, pag nagkakaroon yung memory natin, nagkakaroon ng memory yung katawan natin, uy, kilala ko tong sakit na to. So, alam ko na siyang paano labanan. Okay? So, ganun siya. So, hopefully, magkaroon din tayo ng vaccine for COVID para naman mas safe na tayo, no? Baka naman yung iba, hindi pa rin magpapa-inject ng vaccine kasi nga natatakot pa rin sa side effects. Okay? So, yun. So, that's one, sa health ng children. Nutrition. Okay? So, there's high and increasing rates of childhood stunting and underweight. So, 33% of children under 5 years are stunted, meaning yung nila, height is not um is not in the normal range. Okay? So, mas maraming bata ang nagiging bansot. Yun talaga yung term. Mas lumiliit. Okay? So, 21.5% of children under 5 years are underweight. So, there is an increase from 20% in 2013. Okay? So, isama na rin natin siguro yung pagiging overweight, pero wala lang akong data. Okay? Dapat, laging pasok lang sa normal weight ang mga bata. And tayo din. Tayo rin mga adults. Okay? Water, sanitation, and hygiene. So, kasama na dito, nagkaroon tayo ng high rates of child mortality because of um, because of limited access to clean water and sanitation. Okay? So, infant mortality rate of 21 deaths in 1,000 live births, and under 5 mortality of 27 deaths in 1,000 live births. Okay? So, child mortality is actually higher in rural areas. Kasi nga, yun nga, poor observation of poor hygiene. Kaya lang naman namamatay yung mga bata. Dahil doon. Dahil di pa strong yung katawan nila na expose sila sa mga bacteria, sa mga virus, other microorganisms. So, mas vulnerable sila sa mga sakit. Education, now, an estimated 2.85 million children aged 5 to 15 are out of school based on the data in 2015. Not sure now. Okay? Parang okay naman yata ang education, ang enrollment in schools. Okay? Kasi nga may option naman. But I doubt in some areas siguro where internet access is limited, siguro mas stop muna mag-aral yung mga bata. Child protection. Now, high rates of violence against children. So, sabi, 2 in 3 experience physical violence. 2 in 5 experience psychological violence. Yung physical violence, yung sinasaktan physically. Bugbog, palo, sobra-sobra, yan. Kasi yung nag-violet na yung skin because of nagsusugat, yan. Psychological violence, yung too much harsh words. Okay, nakaka-affect yun. Now, 1 in 4 experience sexual violence. As mentioned, yung child pornography or yung mga exploitation. Okay, binubugaw sa mga foreigner, sa mga kung sino-sino. 2 in 3 experience peer violence. So, yung mga barkada ang nangaway. So, again, this data is based on a 2015 study by UNICEF. Now, this data that I have sent or that I have shown were actually based on the report of UNICEF. Okay? So, they actually concluded that yung government natin, meron siyang strong commitment to improving children's situation. However, marami pa rin barriers to achieve the full development of children. Okay? One factor is economic growth. Siguro another is also the poverty of the parents. Or basta poverty. Okay, generally. Okay? So, marami pang dapat i-improve. Okay ang ating mga legal and policy framework. Pero, as you mentioned, or as you look at it, ang problem, nag-start din sa family. If the parents are not working hard for their children, mas mahihirapan talaga yung mga bata. Okay? Kung naaalala nyo pa nga yung isang commercial about family planning, yung ano yun, may kumakantang bata na grade 1 pa lang daw siya, nasundan na, ganyan-ganyan. So, ilan sila sa bahay? Ilan sila sa isang small room? Diba? So, i-observe yung family planning. Hindi dapat dahil gusto mo lang ay, sige lang ng sige, pero hindi naiisip yung mga bata. Okay? So, yan. Summary of our lesson. So, again, childhood refers to the early stage of existence and development. Okay? So, it starts from birth up to adolescence. While adolescence is a period of psychological and social transition between childhood and adulthood. Okay? So, there are local international laws that protect the welfare of children and adolescents. And our government has demonstrated the strong commitment to improving children's situation in the country. Okay, however, there are still many barriers that hinder the realization of children's rights. Okay, so this first lesson will just be an introduction. Okay, so the next topics we will be focusing on the different aspects of development of the child and adolescent learner. Okay, so that would be all for our lesson for today. I hope you learned something. So I'll see you on our next video. Bye.